What's up? It's the Cody Porter Sports Show, episode 11. It is January 19th, 2024. Let's get right into things. NFL playoffs, Divisional Round, back with 3 guest pickers, just like we were last week. Mensler, Money Mins, got the job done last week, went 5-1. And then me, Jay Walt, Sam, tied at 2-4. Not great. Looking to bounce back. And let's get right into things. And we're going to go with game number 1, Saturday the 20th, Texans-Ravens. Ravens hosting. They're the number 1 overall seed in the AFC. Texans are coming to town after, just taking it to the Cleveland Browns. C.J. Stroud, I think, only completed 16 passes, but went for 270 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 pick sixes of Joe Flacco was the ultimate demise there in the second half for the Cleveland Browns. But I think the Ravens are another animal. I really do. They beat the 49ers and the Dolphins in the last 2 weeks that all their starters play. Obviously, they lost 17-10 in the final game of the season to the Steelers. That was with a bunch of starters sitting. But in their last 2 games where the starters played, where they were really going for it, they beat the 49ers 33-19. They beat the Dolphins 55-19. They are just functioning on another level. I think the Ravens get the job done. I don't think the Texans have a chance in this one. I think it's a pretty large spread, 9.5 points. I think that's a lot, but I also think that the Ravens can do that. I think that the Ravens can do that pretty handily also. I think the Ravens really can, knock out the Texans. Most of those games in the wild card round weren't really games. I think the Ravens have a chance of doing that to the Texans this week. The Texans, C.J. Stroud can have a game. He can keep it close, but I like the Ravens. I like the Ravens a lot in this one. Now let's go ahead and throw it to our guest pickers. Who do I want to introduce first? Maybe Sam Chester should go first this week.
What's up, Cody Porter Sports Show fans? I'm back once again, this time with my picks for the divisional round of the 2024 playoffs. Here's what I think it's going to play out. I've got the Texans at the Ravens. I think this one is going to be a little close. I think it's only really going to be made close by a late touchdown probably by the Texans. I think the Ravens are probably going to handle this one pretty easily. I think Lamar is just playing super good right now. There's not much that the Texans defense is going to do. They played really good against Joe Flacco and the Browns, but guess what? Lamar Jackson isn't Joe Flacco, and the Ravens offense is not the Browns offense. I think the Ravens absolutely dominate on the offensive side of the ball. It's kept close at the end of the game by the Texans with a late surge maybe. I like the over 44 points. I got the Texans covering the 9.5 point spread. Probably with that late touchdown that I was just talking about. And I like the Ravens. Let's call it 28-20.
Let's hear from Jay Walt, Jackson Walton.
Here we are. I am Jackson Walton here with your picks for divisional weekend. I think there's going to be some very good games on television this weekend, and I think we're going to see some memorable games out of this week. First up, we got Texans and Ravens. Now, last week I played it a little bit too safe, and I got to go out there a little bit to make up for last week. I let y'all down. Texans, Ravens, I'm taking the Texans, and here's why. I think the Ravens are a great team, but one thing the Ravens have not shown us is how successful they are in the playoffs. If you look at past years, they just haven't been able to get it done in the big games. And until they show that, I think it's an easy pick to bet against the Ravens in the playoffs, especially against a team like the Texans who are coming off a hot streak. C.J. Stroud's one of the most electric quarterbacks in the NFL, and coming off of also an amazing defense that D'Amico Ryans has made up there. I think that it's hard to bet against the Texans in this game. I just don't see how I can see how they lose, but I think the Texans are going to be able to take it over the Ravens.
And let's go ahead and hear it from Money Mins.
Okay, starting off the divisional round with Texans and Ravens. I think the biggest thing to highlight here are the 2 defenses for these teams. They're both some of the best when it comes to creating turnovers to give to their offense. I think whoever makes that one mistake this game will lose. I think that might be the Texans because the Ravens' defense outside of turnovers have been incredible. They have 60 sacks, which means that they're just going to send pressure throughout this game. I don't think CJ will be able to get comfortable, and because of that, I'm going to rock with the Ravens. Next game, we got Niners and Packers. I really want to rock with the Packers here, especially what they did to Dallas this past weekend. I just think that it's going to be a little different when it comes to pressure, especially with their defensive ends being Nick Bosa and Chase Young on that defensive side. I also think that the corners for the Niners will allow them, that front seven, to get to Love a little bit longer than what the Cowboys were able to do. And because of that, I don't think, once again, I think a young quarterback gets a little rattled, isn't able to make the plays that they did last game, which is why I'm going to rock with the Niners.
We got the Packers versus the 49ers, and I don't think anyone can disagree with this. It's going to be an absolute blowout. The 49ers are the hottest team in the league despite us losing to the Ravens. I think that we have shown that we have one of the most talented rosters in the NFL, and we always get hot in the playoffs. So I just don't see a way in which the Packers, which are also a very hot team, they're doing very good for themselves, but I don't see how we let a quarterback like Jordan Love, who is good, but I don't think he's elite. And I think that the 49ers just have everything in place for a good playoff team. Great D-line, decent offensive line. We have a good running game, and that's the biggest parts of a good playoff team. I think if you have those things, you have a very good chance to get to the Super Bowl and maybe win it. I think that the Packers just also lack a lot of talent. I really like their young tight ends, but just Romeo Doubs in the passing game on wide receivers, I just don't like that matchup against the 49ers, who have a great box and a great secondary. I just don't like that matchup for them.
Game number 2, we got the Packers at the Niners. The Niners are just playing a different breed of football right now. I don't have them winning my Super Bowl, but I do have them advancing probably to the Super Bowl, but I think they lose again. I don't think that they're closers. The 49ers, I like them in this one. I don't think Jordan Love is going to have a good game again. I think he played great last week. I think the Packers' run probably comes to an end here. I have the over. That's over 50.5 points. I have Green Bay to cover the spread at 9.5. I like the score somewhere around 34-26 49ers. I think it's going to be a shootout. I think Jordan Love is going to have a good game. He's going to drive the ball well. But I think the 49ers are just going to be too much for the Packers defense. And I think the Niners defense is going to get some key stops that's not going to allow the 49ers to keep it super close. That's 34-26 49ers.
The second game on Saturday, Packers going to the 49ers. Packers upset of the weekend last week, really, by taking it to the Cowboys in Dallas, in Big D. The Packers went into Big D and made it their home. Jordan Love, Aaron Jones. I think Aaron Jones is really the key to it all. Hurt for a large portion of the year. Missed a lot of games, wasn't even healthy in a lot of games. But in their last 4 games, he's been fully healthy. He's had over 20 carries in all 4 of those games, had over 100 yards in all 4 of those games, and they've won all 4 of those games. I think Aaron Jones is the key to making this a close game. But in the end, I just think the 49ers' offense will be too much. The Green Bay Packers' defense has been nothing great all season long. They held their own very well in the first half against the Cowboys, but then the Cowboys did end up putting more yards on the Packers than the Packers did on the Cowboys. They had over 500 yards of offense. They put up 32 points. I think the Niners are going to control the clock a little bit more. They're not going to have as many turnovers as the Cowboys did. And I just think the 49ers defense is going to do a lot more of Jordan Love and that Packers offense than the Cowboys could. I got the 49ers. I think Aaron Jones could keep this game close. But overall, I like the 49ers to beat the Packers. on Sunday, game number 1 on Sunday, Bucs at Lions. People tried so hard to count on the Bucs. They were wrong. The Buccaneers defense is playing like it was in the Super Bowl run. That pressure that Todd Bowles brought against Jalen Hurts all game long was incredible. That defense looks like it did in the Super Bowl run. Just all night, just terrorizing the Eagles offense. And really, Todd Bowles has always been known as one of the best defensive minds in football. As a head coach, there have always been questions. Got fired from the Jets. Been question marks with the Bucs since he's been a head coach. But he showed why he is a head coach in the NFL. It's because of his defensive mastermind that he has. And I think they're going to go up to Ford Field. They're going to go up to Detroit, and they're going to tame the Lions in front. The Cinderella story that I love the Lions. I love Dan Campbell. I love everything they got. They got nothing on this Bucs team. The Bucs are going to go in there. CJ, GJ, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. I love them at Florida. Talking nonsense to Baker Mayfield saying that this wide receiver group would be really good if they had a quarterback. Come on. What a ridiculous statement. Baker has played lights out all season long. Played lights out last week. The Bucs could have put 40 on the Eagles last week if the receivers honestly stepped up. Mike Evans dropped the touchdown. Cade Otton dropped the touchdown. I think the offense is on fire. The defense is on fire. They got everything going for them. The Lions couldn't stop a nosebleed passing last week. Matthew Stafford had over 350 yards passing. I'm not quite sure what it was. I know it was over 300. Baker's on fire. He's feeling himself. Last week, the offense was fueled not by Mike Evans, not by Chris Godwin, but by Trey Palmer, by David Moore, by Cade Otton. Come on. The Buccaneers are going to go in and beat the Lions. Give me the Bucs plus 6.5. Give me the Bucs money line all day. Book a ticket to the NFC title game.
Next up, we got the Buccaneers and the Lions. While the Lions have shown a lot of promise with Jahmyr Gibbs, Amon-Ra, David Montgomery, Sam Laporta, it looks like a great team. It really does. Aiden Hutchinson on the D-line. And despite what my past comments just said, I think the Buccaneers are winning this game. I slept on Baker Mayfield. He looked really good despite, he's just chucking that ball. He's throwing 40, 50 passes a game, and he lives and dies by his throws. But that Buccaneers defense is more than what I thought it was. I think the Buccaneers defense could potentially take out the Lions itself, and with Baker Mayfield throwing as he had 0 picks last game. If he can keep that up, I think the Buccaneers have a really good chance to win this game, and I'm picking the Buccaneers.
Next up, we got the Lions and the Bucs. This one's going to be a little bit more interesting after the comments that two people have been having throughout this week in interviews. And that's been Baker Mayfield and CJ Gardner-Johnson. I expect Baker to come out slinging this ball, especially against the defense that just allowed Matt Stafford to absolutely slice and dice them up all game long last weekend. With Mike Evans, Cade Otton, and Chris Godwin, I think Baker will have the weapons that he needs in order to keep this game really close and potentially have a chance to win. With it being in Detroit, I think they'll end up winning this game. I think it's close once again. I think it comes down to the last possession, but we're rocking with Detroit.
Bucs at Lions. The Lions are good. Jared Goff is playing really well. I think Baker's playing better. What I saw last week from Baker Mayfield against the Eagles, who have been struggling, I think Baker can do it. I think that Oklahoma blood runs too deep in this man's veins. I think he is going to come in clutch again. I like the under 48.5 points. I got it at 28-17 Bucs. I don't see the Lions generating much on offense. The Bucs defense has played well recently. And that's the Bucs covering 6.5 points. I think that all of those are pretty much locks. You can take the Bucs money line, free money, them to cover the spread add even more money onto it. And then I like the under with the score at 28-17. Lastly, I have the Chiefs at the Bills. I like the Chiefs. I like the Chiefs. I almost said Bills. I've been going back and forth on this one, but I think I like the Chiefs at the end of the day. I think it's going to be a close game. I think there's too many injuries on the Bills defense for the Bills to play outstanding. I think that Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce are going to light it up. I think there's going to be some huge, deep air balls from Patrick Mahomes, and I think Travis Kelce is going to be there, and he's going to come in clutch. He hasn't played well recently, but I think he shows up in the playoffs. I think second round of the playoffs, he knows he didn't play well last week. I think he shows up this time. I've got the over 46. I've got Kansas City to cover the spread at +3, and I think the score is going to be close. I think it's going to be 27-24 Chiefs. See y'all later.
We got the Chiefs and the Bills. I think that this game will be, honestly, I don't think it'll be that close. I see the Chiefs choking, and it's not as much of a choke as you might think because they haven't shown that they're an elite team all year. They have just Rashee Rice and Travis Kelce not playing as his old self. He's getting old, and it's pretty easy to tell that with this season as his numbers being down. And I think that the Bills stomp on the Chiefs. I see Mahomes throwing a couple picks, and despite Mahomes' best efforts, I see that this year that's been an off year for the Chiefs, if we're all honest with ourselves, is going to be the end of their season, and they're going to have to figure out what to do next year. I see this Bills team as an electric team. They've played a great defense. Been an off year for the Chiefs, if we're all honest with ourselves, is going to be the end of their season, and they're going to have to figure out what to do next year. I see this Bills team as an electric team. They've played a great defense, and I think that Josh Allen could put the game away for himself by ending the game with his picks, but I see the Bills as having an elite team and a team that is good in the playoffs. They have a great O-line, great running game right now with James Cook, and I just don't see that with the Chiefs. Yes, Isaac Pacheco's good, but is he better than what the Bills are doing right now? It's hard to tell. But I'm going to take the Bills in this game. This has been Jackson. I think that these picks are good and something you might want to bet on because this is how I see it happening this week. And I hope that you have enjoyed the show, and I'm glad to do this on the Cody Porter Sports Show. And I hope I'll be back for more picks in the future. Thank you.
Which takes us to our last game. Bills and Chiefs. I think with this one being away from Arrowhead for the first time in Patrick Mahomes' postseason career, and against the Bills team that has been, off and on this year, but they've found their stride late in the season. I think the Bills are going to win this one. I think Rashee Rice is going to have another big game. Kelce will have a big game. I think the Bills make one more play than them, which we've seen in the past where the Chiefs have made that one extra play. I think Josh Allen has it this year, and I'm going to rock with the Bills. So if you're going to put this into a parlay, I would put the Texans at +9.5, Packers at +9.5, Bucs at +6.5, and just take Bills money line. That puts you at like +1,000, +1,100 for this weekend. But I like those odds. I think the games are going to be closer than what the books have them right now, especially based off performances from last weekend. And let's hope we win some money. And thanks again, Cody.
Final game of the weekend, Sunday, Chiefs at Bills. Buffalo, 2.5-point favorites. I think it's the Bills' year as far as beating the Chiefs go. Have not beaten the Chiefs, 0-2 in the playoffs. This is the first one in Buffalo. I don't think it matters maybe as much as people think. It's still Patrick Mahomes. He's still a 2-time Super Bowl champion. Won a whole bunch of games in the NFL, whole bunch of playoff games. But I think it's Buffalo's year. I think that defense is going to have a great game. I think Josh Allen's going to have a great game. It was a fantastic game when they played this season. The Bills won 17-20. Obviously, Chiefs should have taken the lead on that Kadarius Toney offsides pass that he received on the lateral from Travis Kelce, but that was still a 17-20 game. I think it's going to be another barn burner, another fantastic Buffalo-Kansas City game in the playoffs like it has been for the last few years, how it's going to be for the next 5-10 years. But I like the Bills in this one. They finally get that Chiefs monkey off the back in the playoffs. Give me Buffalo. So my picks overall, I got the Ravens beating the Texans. I got the 49ers over the Packers. I got the Bucs over the Lions. And I got the Bills over the Chiefs. 3 of 4 favorites, but I mean, those 1 seeds have been juggernauts all season. But I mean, the teams they're playing both had fantastic wildcard performances. I hope they're all great games. I could see any of those teams, upsetting them in all reality because it's any given Sunday. Anything can happen in the NFL. I mean, Jordan Love and C.J. Stroud played fantastic last week. They could play even better this upcoming weekend. I just don't see it happening. But I cannot wait to watch. I mean, these are 4 fantastic games. Cannot wait for the divisional round. And then after this weekend, we only got 3 more football games left. Gotta love it. That was all nice and short. Nothing crazy. Episode 11, Cody Porter Sports Show. See you next week.